It is feared an unexpected social housing development will lead to a rampant spate of antisocial behaviour in North Clare. In 2019, the local authority granted permission for the refurbishment of the Ennistymon Convent to encompass 30 residential units. It was initially expected that the project would be earmarked for older people. However, it's understood the properties are now intended for social housing. Cathaoirleach of the West Clare Municipal District and Lahinch Fine Gael Councillor Bill Slattery and Ennistymon Fianna Fáil Councillor Talty say there are serious concerns about the location.
This broadcast package on Clare FM is funded by the Local Democracy Reporting Scheme.
Cathaoirleach of the West Clare Municipal District and Lahinch Fine Gael Councillor Bill Slattery. Bill, a motion that you raised at this week's meeting of the West Clare MD was that we had what was previously earmarked for an older person's housing development at the site of the old convent in Ennistymon. It's now understood that the developer is favouring making that a social housing estate, and to say the least, you have a lot of concerns.
I have a lot of concerns because, as you know, as I said at the meeting, this has been brought to my attention because this planning application went in 2019 for a village for the elderly, and it was built, and then in 2025 last year that planning was dropped and a new planning application was made for affordable and social housing. I understand now that these apartments, 31 of them, could be all social housing, and where this site is located, it's such an isolated site, I don't think it's suitable for social housing in that particular area, beside the two schools and at the back of the convent. And people are worried that this, where it is situated, that this might end up to be, we'll say, a second kind of a Ballymun building or something like that. It's 3 stories high, and I'm just afraid if it's all going to be social housing, that it's not going to be good for Ennistymon. And I want the people of Ennistymon to know that we're letting them know what we think is going to happen there, and let them decide themselves with antisocial behaviour and stuff like that. So for that reason, I brought it today, put down a motion with Councillor Talty today to bring it to the attention of the people that we want to let them know what we think might be going here, and we want to get clarification on it.
And I suppose just very quickly to say that the point here is that a lack of maintenance, a lack of services available, as you mentioned in the meeting, the refuse can lead to certain conditions over time, and that's the fear basically.
Well, if you go up yourself now before you go back to Ennis and go up to the back road and look down at this building, and you can see why I'm so concerned. It's so isolated. It's a tower-like building, which is not good for social housing. And we are afraid of a lot of antisocial behaviour. And as was said today at the meeting, Clare County Council are not good at maintaining social houses, even though the director said today that they were. But from our experience here in Ennistymon and other places like Kirusha here today, they haven't got a very good record. And we are afraid that if this is all social housing, that will go to wreck and ruin.
Ennistymon Fianna Fáil Councillor Talty, Shane, you similarly raised concerns, and you pointed to the condition that some social housing estates in Ennistymon and North Clare that were developed in the past are now in.
Yeah, so this was a joint motion that we both wanted to highlight, I suppose, to the council management and to the public, our genuine concerns that, you know, if this development is going to become an entirely social housing development, well, the public understand and know what Clare County Council's track record and legacy is in Ennistymon around those such developments. While they might be award-winning on their development and initial opening, there hasn't been sufficient management and maintenance and day-to-day management on site. And I suppose, as Bill says, this type of building, it's the old convent building plus a new one adjacent to it, 3-story high buildings, a total of 31 apartments. Just that volume of people housed in a small location, overlooking the secondary school, overlooking the primary school, relatively isolated site within the town. Just huge concerns that what will that look like in a year and 5 years' time and 10 years' time, and what will that do again for the legacy, as I said, to Clare County Council, how they look after social housing in Ennistymon in particular.
And what kind of things are you hearing from constituents at the moment?
Well, there's some upset, I suppose, that the initial plans, where it was understood to be an entirely development directed towards elderly and towards retirement, people in their 50s onwards, I suppose, 1 and 2 bedroom apartments with on-site services and supports and a kind of a model of a retirement village. That's what people anticipated, but now this is gone away from that. It's the planning has been amended to allow for residential of any type, so that means it could be potentially be young families, it could still be elderly as well, but I suppose it's to ensure that whatever the long-term option is here that appropriate assessment is made around how those houses are allocated and how the site and services and facility is managed afterwards.
Yeah, and that has to be said. There is a lot of disappointment too, because away from the fears of antisocial behaviour, or for this coming into rack and ruin, or for this being unsightly or unhygienic or anything like that, there was elderly people, and I suppose you could say, for want of a better term, vulnerable members of the community that thought we'll have ideal housing in the centre of the town, and it looks like those dreams are dashed.
They are dashed if this happens. But as Councillor Talty knows, I had representations got from people that wanted to downsize and move in from the country, and they've come to me and asked me about these houses. I went back to inquire why weren't these being advertised. As I said, the planning went in 2019, it changed again in 2025. Some of those people were very anxious to move into Ennistymon if it was to be for the elderly. But now with this question mark over it, I'd say if this, and I'm not trying to scupper anything about these social, we all need housing, but not in this particular area. And I think people would not move into this if it's going to be our social housing.
Fianna Fáil Councillor Shane Talty is that, Shane, if this could work, this is something that I understand you'd also be in favour of. If we could get developments that are held up maybe in Spanish Point or are unrealistic in Spanish Point, and facilitate a measure where we can pump that down to Quilty where there is that spare capacity.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, in principle, the likes of the Armada Hotel is a huge and critical employer in West Clare, massive in Spanish Point, Milton and the area, and the ongoing success of the hotel is critical to economic survival in West Clare. So where the owners are taking a brave private investment decision to try and ensure the future viability of the hotel by creating a sewerage connection between the hotel and Quilty, I think it's an opportune time that the water services, the Irish Water and Clare County Council would be looking at this and see what other possibilities does it open up for other residents and other businesses in the area to ensure and enhance the future prospects for some place like Spanish Point.
This broadcast package on Clare FM is funded by the Local Democracy Reporting Scheme.
And thanks to Dara Dolan for bringing us that report.